Tonight, high-tech help to combat Canada's car theft crime wave. The new tool to tackle the rising trend.
A mobile X-ray scanner is being deployed,
Intercepting stolen vehicles before they cross the border. Preparing for peak temperatures across Canada and the U.S.
The risk of these heat illnesses are high and people need to take precautions.
A treacherous heat wave already contributing to a fast-moving wildfire. Plus, the big impact of tiny homes.
It gives somebody the courage to grow stronger and grow better in themselves.
Building a community and creating confidence, one small foundation at a time.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. There is a new plan in place to slam the brakes on a growing crime that is costing Canadians billions of dollars. Officials are turning to X-ray technology to crack down on auto thefts. Scenes like this with brazen thieves stealing cars play out at an alarming rate. One vehicle is stolen about every 5 minutes in Canada. It's a particular problem in Ontario and Quebec. Today, the government revealed a scanner to help make it easier for officers to spot the stolen vehicles before they board a ship destined for another country. CTV's Christina Tenalia starts us off.
The city of Toronto is the auto theft hub of Canada.
This is an alarming circumstance.
With 4 other Greater Toronto Area cities trailing behind. Today, officials from all 3 levels of government gathered at the Canadian Border Services headquarters to show off the latest tool to stop stolen cars before they leave this country.
This is a very powerful tool. This scanner is a game changer.
Federal ministers unveiled this large, mobile X-ray scanner. It'll be deployed at locations across the Toronto area this summer.
It's a lot cheaper and more effective to intercept the stolen vehicles here in the GTA or in Montreal before they make it to one of the busiest ports in Canada.
The device will allow border officers to scan shipping containers using high-energy radiation that penetrates the entire container, giving a clear image of what's inside. The Insurance Bureau of Canada calls auto theft a national crisis.
This is a crisis that is Canada-wide, and Ontario is the epicenter.
In 2023, auto theft claims soared to a record-breaking $1.5 billion in Canada. More than $1 billion worth of claims came from Ontario alone.
The introduction of a scanner like this, a portable one in the GTA, is going to help. Hopefully what it does is help identify stolen vehicles earlier in the supply chain.
Following Ontario, Quebec and Alberta topped the country's list for highest auto theft claims. For security and investigative purposes, the CBSA won't say how many units they've purchased, and they won't say when more of these scanners could be deployed across the country. A spokesperson adds a more than $25 million investment from the federal government will help the agency determine how to make use of more detection technology in other parts of Canada. Christina Tenalia, CTV News, Toronto.
Water consumption in Calgary has reduced significantly, but authorities say residents must continue limiting their use.
Let me tell you how it adds up. One fewer flush from every household saves 12 million liters of water each day. One fewer run of the dishwasher citywide can save up to 17 million liters of water.
The original water main break has now been fixed, and authorities are turning their attention to 5 other hotspots in need of repair. A feeder main pipe has been sourced from as far away as San Diego. The timeline for a return to normality remains unchanged at 3 to 5 weeks. Dangerous and potentially record-breaking heat is moving across North America with millions under alerts. The hot and humid conditions expected to last for several days in some parts of the country. These conditions can also impact air quality, affecting everyone's health. CTV's Jeremy Charon reports.
Bracing for a brutal early blast of summer.
From Atlanta, Georgia to Fredericton, New Brunswick, it's going to be hot, 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 and we're under this heat dome that is dominating eastern North America.
Heat warnings have already been issued in eastern Ontario. Temperatures here expected to hold steady into the 30s most of the week, and it comes ahead of Thursday's official start of summer.
We've seen temperatures in June have actually been maybe about a degree cooler than normal. And all of a sudden, that's going to be dramatically changed.
That heat coming from south of the border.
This thing is essentially unprecedented for how strong it is this early in the summer.
A week-long heat dome is set to blanket the Midwest, Northeast, and Great Lakes, with temperatures expected to hold into the mid to high 90s. That's over 35 degrees Celsius.
The high temperatures are going to be peaking to record values this week from the Ohio Valley to the Northeast. And this is going to be the worst from Monday to Thursday, but even continuing into the weekend.
The scorching temperatures come on the heels of torrential rain in Florida and across the Northeast. Residents still recovering from weekend floodings. While in Los Angeles, 1,200 people have now been evacuated as a wildfire in LA County has spread over 1,000 acres. Across the U.S., a wild mix of weather, but the heat is the headline.
And that's because it's expected to be record-breaking. Forecasters have predicted more than 190 weather records could be set this week across America. Jeremy Sharon, CTV News, Ottawa.
Hot, dry conditions are contributing to a wildfire in the Northwest Territories that forced a remote community to evacuate. Firefighters confirmed today flames have now reached the town of Fort Good Hope, which is home to about 500 people. There are currently no reports of structural damage. On Saturday, people were told to evacuate after the human-caused fire started just northeast of the town. That is just one of many fires burning right now, keeping officials on high alert. This week, the government warned the hotter than normal summer predicted for most of the country could lead to another year of dangerous wildfire conditions. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson has the story.
After thousands in northern BC and Alberta were forced out of their homes earlier this spring, with flames dangerously close to multiple communities, this week, a note of good news.
The number of fires is well below average for this time of the year. It is also well below the 10-year average for the total area burned.
But Environment Canada is already warning the chance of a hotter than normal summer is virtually 100% almost everywhere east of Manitoba. Above average heat is also likely on the prairies and most of the west.
Key areas of concern include northeastern British Columbia, northern Alberta, south central Northwest Territories, and northern Quebec.
BC is particularly concerned about the low snowpack this year, the government confirming it's only 57% of normal, which will limit runoff and stream flows, as well as prolong intense drought.
As we get into the core of the fire season, namely July and August, that underlying drought really is going to play a huge driver in bringing us intense fires.
Coming off the most destructive fire season in Canadian history that burned a record 18.5 million hectares of land, Ottawa is touting investments in new equipment and millions more for help on the front line.
And are on track to train 1,000 additional firefighters by the end of this year, which is 3 years ahead of schedule.
In BC, the provincial government is also making it easier for fire evacuees to access support, increasing the nightly accommodation allowance and making it available through e-transfer to hopefully save some time and frustration. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
A spring storm has brought an unusual sight to British Columbia's south coast. The brief but intense hailstorm swept across the area yesterday afternoon, blanketing the street in white. Roads then transformed into rivers as the ice melted. It's still unclear exactly how much hail fell during the quick storm. A massive brawl broke out between soccer fans in Germany ahead of the Euro 2024 opener. Dozens of people were filmed throwing chairs, smashing glasses, and overturning tables outside a restaurant in the country's west. Hundreds of riot police racing to the scene, locking down the area. In all, 7 Serbian nationals were arrested, though it's still unclear who instigated the violence. Restoring peace between Russia and Ukraine was the focus of a global summit this weekend, with more than 90 nations taking part. World leaders called for the territorial integrity of Ukraine to be the basis for any agreement to end the war. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver reports.
high up in a luxurious resort surrounded by the Swiss Alps. Nearly 100 world leaders and organizations gathered to chart the path to peace in Ukraine.
The main message is we are not intimidated and we are absolutely determined to uphold the rule of law.
The summit comes after Putin said he would enter peace talks if Ukraine withdraws its troops from areas Russia says it's annexed. Ukraine says that is never going to happen and is encouraging its allies here to provide more military support faster. Canada promised an air defense system in January 2023, but that still hasn't been delivered.
Of course, we wish the system was already in Ukraine because we are in a situation when every piece of air defense matters. It's an issue of death and life, issue of survival.
The Prime Minister says that system is still being built in the United States. While no new military support is on the table today, Canada did announce a $52.4 million support package for Ukraine, including $20 million to help repair Ukraine's damaged energy equipment and infrastructure, and $10 million to help reintegrate Ukrainian children kidnapped by Russia.
Everyone can agree that taking kids away from their families, trying to erase their language, their culture, that's an element of genocide. That's pure colonialism. These are things that Russia needs to be accountable for.
While a concrete plan for peace in Ukraine may not have been unveiled, experts say this gathering of so many world leaders sends a strong sign to the Russian president.
I think Putin is seeing international consensus forming against him and continuing. I think he might have been calculating that there would be big cracks.
France has said it intends to send military trainers into Ukraine, and it's stepping up pressure on its allies to join their initiative. Asked today whether Canada would take part, the Prime Minister wouldn't say. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Birkenstock, Switzerland.
In Canada, undocumented families gathered to mark Father's Day by calling on Ottawa to create a framework to keep parents and children together, hoping the Liberal government will deliver on a promise of regularization for the hundreds of thousands of undocumented people here. CTV's Mike Walker has more.
What do we want?
Status for all! Clutching signs that read status for all, shaped as broken hearts, symbolizing the pain of being separated from their families.
They promised us a regularization program in the spring.
More than 24 undocumented people rallied outside Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland's constituency office, demanding the government follow through on its pledge for a regularization plan to help gain permanent resident status.
Not having status in this country, that means there's completely no stability.
Dave Callow came to Canada as a refugee 6 years ago. He is a social worker, but his work permit expired in December and is now unable to financially support his family in Uganda, who he hasn't seen since he first arrived here.
It's been hell. Being unable to take care of my own children, I've not found work since December.
Others, like Charles, fear being deported. He came to Canada in 2019 and has worked as a PSW. His recent permanent residency application was rejected.
To go to school, and I can be someone economically, I'm helping Canada.
The rally organized by the Migrant Workers Alliance for Change, who are calling on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to follow through on his 2021 pledge to explore ways of regularizing status for undocumented workers.
Through no fault of their own, because of an unfair and uncaring system, lose their immigration status. They're working here and they're struggling.
The government says it has studied various regularization options. It estimates as many as 500,000 undocumented people are in Canada.
When undocumented people get regularized, they'll be able to be with their families. They'll be able to speak up when they're being mistreated at work. They'll be able to get health care.
As for possible timelines, the government is considering. A spokesperson for the Ministry of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship tells us any new developments on this matter will be announced when they become available. Mike Walker, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up, the tiny neighborhood building confidence.
Knowing that I can get up and make a little bit of a difference here.
The growing community gaining attention and offering hope to the unhoused. Plus, fire rips through an Ontario marina. There is a unique solution to Canada's housing crisis taking shape in Fredericton. We first brought you this story showcasing the Tiny Homes Project as a way to support people who may otherwise be homeless. Now, a new cafe in the area is giving people a place to work and gather, contributing to their community with the support of small foundations. Here's CTV's Sarah Plowman.
Coffee traffic leads to an intersection between the hungry and those hungry for a chance. Behind every bite is a recipe to build hope. First, add opportunity.
I honestly had no idea where I was going to end up.
Like many living steps away in this tiny home community, Ashley Chapman is grateful. 2 months ago, she lived at a women's homeless shelter, her exit from an abusive relationship. Her entrance here means studying and working.
It gives somebody the courage to grow stronger and grow better in themselves.
A key ingredient is removing barriers. Melissa Hagney moved from a tent to a tiny home 2 years ago. Now she's an apprentice baker.
I went to school, never thought I could do that. So I just graduated in April, so now I have a job. In 15 years, I never had a job.
Then there's Randy Birch. His fingerprints are all over the tiny homes here, built for people who may otherwise be homeless. Before this, he lived in a car.
Do you feel a sense of value, a sense of purpose?
Oh yeah.
How so?
Well, it's just knowing that I can get up and make a little bit of a difference here.
The millionaire mastermind behind it wants not just to build tiny homes or a cafe for people to work, but a community, a solution to a homelessness crisis that's gained international attention.
Almost every week we've had visitors from other communities across the country and even in the U.S. that have come and just kind of try to absorb, what it is that we built.
To him, the most important ingredient of all is dignity, because when you give someone that, they see their value and their potential. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Still ahead, lessons for little ones.
Tap friendly.
The power of music and its potential to help parents and babies. Just as the summer season is getting underway, a massive fire has destroyed 3 boats in southern Ontario. Dramatic video shows flames engulfing the vessels docked at Port Stanley yesterday afternoon. It's believed an electrical fire broke out on one boat before quickly spreading. Owners arriving at the scene to assess the damage and begin the process of having the charred debris removed. A unique music class in St. John's is bringing parents and their kids together at an early age. The program allows little ones to find their voice through music, and the early evidence shows it's helping. CTV's Garrett Berry explains.
Tap friendly.
Graduation day for some of the youngest musicians you'll ever see. This class starts them early.
I've had children as young as 5 weeks come in. I've had some parents ask before they even have their child if they can get on our wait list.
It's backed by research that shows early exposure to songs and banging on beat helps not only with musical pattern recognition, but speech and infant communication, like pointing at things or waving goodbye.
The brain is just growing substantially in the first 5 years.
Parents and guardians are seeing changes in their little drummers.
We enrolled her in this class too, just to try and bring her out of that shyness, and it's helped a great deal. And she has a lot of energy, so she's kind of doing her own thing here, but she's playing and interacting with kids.
But it's designed to help parents too, to help them make connections in what can be a lonely postpartum period.
We were in a couple, just every day we'd go find a group wherever we could. Mostly for me at the beginning, and then now it's for him because he gets to socialize.
The program founder knows that need well.
I started this business because I was one of those moms who needed that connection, needed to get out of the house. COVID had just hit at the time, and I was like, I need to create something where parents can get out of the house, socialize their kids, socialize themselves.
Groups like this are getting more popular across the country. This fall, classes here are getting much bigger. She's hired 6 new teachers and got the keys to a new space for her business, all to keep up with surging demand.
If they can take their joy from infancy right up until when they're even when they're adults, that's the goal.
Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
After the break, a special delivery.
I'm super excited and I'm also nervous at the same time. Go and reconnect with somebody that you haven't spoken to for a while.
The souvenirs from strangers inspiring a personal mission. As we head into a popular time for tourism, with that often comes postcards sent to family and friends from around the globe. They're a quick souvenir and a reminder of great adventures. But as CTV's Adam Sawatsky tells us, for one man from New Zealand, those postcards have brought some unexpected travel.
Johnny Beardmore has arrived here from the other side of the world to meet someone he doesn't know.
I'm super excited and I'm also nervous at the same time.
Someone who not only doesn't know Johnny's coming,
will they be home?
Doesn't know Johnny at all.
Will they be receptive? Will they be run out of town with a shotgun?
Johnny, on the other hand, is armed with only a postcard, a map app on his phone, and under his shorts,
my lucky tortoise undies.
You see, this journey began after Johnny met these giant tortoise on the Galapagos Islands, where he also happened upon this old postbox, where visitors have dropped off letters for centuries, so others heading in the direction they're addressed can pick them up and deliver them.
I thought, wow, there's something in this.
So Johnny launched the Galapagos Postman Challenge with the goal of hand-delivering 50 postcards from the box to people living on 7 continents.
It was about reconnecting with the world and reconnecting one letter at a time.
To connect with others in a way his dad no longer could, after enduring ALS for 8 years.
And I was looking for inspiration that would be something in his memory.
So Johnny's striving to raise $100,000 for ALS research by documenting his travels from Antarctica to South and Central America.
I've got a little letter to deliver.
And now North America.
I brought it all the way from the Galapagos Islands.
Oh my goodness. Oh, wow.
And while the 15 letters Johnny's delivered so far have been met with initial apprehension.
Who's this weirdo from New Zealand?
Like Bob, who received a postcard from his daughter Monica, the people are always left feeling appreciative.
Sure, that's great.
And whether the interactions are brief or last late into the night, Johnny says they're all reminders of how meaningful it can be to connect in person. Well, you still can.
So go and reconnect with somebody that you haven't spoken to for a while.
And as the Galapagos postman heads off to his next stops across Canada, he knows his dad would be proud.
I think he'd probably be laughing and having a beer and saying, go for it, son.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.
This is a special day for parents. To all the fathers and father figures, I hope you were able to celebrate today. And to my dad, thanks for your support. Happy Father's Day. I'm Heather Butts. Omar and Sandy will be here tomorrow. I'll see you again on Friday. Good night.